The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. Joining me today on the panel are Father Joseph Sund. Hey, Father.
Good to be with you. And
Tom Grelinger. Hey, Tom.
Good evening, Dom.
So our topic tonight is, or whenever you're listening to this, but for us it's night. For me it's night. Our topic this time is computers for college. It's midsummer as we record this, and a lot of young people are looking at going to college for the first time. I've got an 18-year-old she's not going to college, but she's, at that point where it's time to think about a new computer or whatnot. And so a lot of college students are thinking, I need a school computer. I'm going off. I've turned in my Chromebook to my high school, and now I need a computer for my dorm to do all my classes and stuff like that. I'm old enough where that was a novelty. The idea of having a computer in your as a college student. I was one of the first college students in my college when I went back at 22, who had a laptop to take notes. It was unusual. So we're going to be looking at this question, and it's a tougher question this year than it has been in the past because, oh my goodness, have you seen the prices? So. Don't panic buy a computer come August. We're doing this now so that you can make a reasoned choice of enough computer for what you need and not a penny more. That's our goal here. So you're going to a lot of times people will either spend $2,500 on a super overpowered computer that you're never going to use 10% of, or you show up with a $200 laptop that you thought would be enough and just totally isn't. So we're going to find the sweet spot for everyone here. Good. Well, actually, that's a good place to begin. Did you guys have computers in college? Did you have a computer when you went to college, Tom?
I had a Gateway 2000 that I took up to school. Paid a little extra for that 15-inch CRT monitor and the faster modem. But and I was probably... There were a few other guys who had desktops, but it was only I lived in a scholarship hall at the University of Kansas, so Google that if you're curious what type of housing that is. But I remember about the last year, we saw the first laptop, and it happened to be the son of a Gateway 2000 employee. So, so he obviously had the discount. Now, I mean, one of the things is you mentioned, Dom, where people are starting to look at this. I think one of the things that brought this topic to the fore for me was we're coming to that time of year where some states, it's less than 10, that offer sales tax free time periods. Mm-hmm. I know my state does in Missouri, and there's I was trying to figure out how many, and I think it's probably about 7 states that do computers.
Iowa across the river from me does. Yeah.
And so Massachusetts has a sales tax holiday. Also, New Hampshire has no sales tax, so if you live near the border, it's a nice way to save a few bucks.
Or Oregon or Delaware.
Yeah. But that's actually a good point is to pay attention, because these are not inexpensive purchases. If you buy what you need on the sales tax holiday, you could save yourself, 3 digits anyway, potentially, plus all the other stuff that you got to buy for their dorm. You might as well do it all that time. That's a good point. That is a good point. So let's talk about what we get. There is a Catholic angle to this, which is good stewardship, right? Just to use your resources wisely. The college is expensive enough. Save money where you can. Let's just go with that. All right. So the first question you have to look at when you're pondering what should I get for college is, should I get a laptop or a desktop computer? And I think a lot of people automatically go, oh, well, a laptop, of course. Why would you get a desktop? That's not, well, I don't think that's always a foregone conclusion. There are pros and cons. a laptop, yeah, portability. You could take it to class, you could take it to the library, you can work wherever at all times. But the flip side is that dollar for dollar, desktops, you get more power, more RAM for the buck. Just for the same amount of power, you're going to get you're going to pay less. And that's the trade-off there. So, what do you guys think? If someone would come to you and say, should I get a laptop or a desktop? What would you advise to someone who came to you, just in general?
I would start off with questions of what their major is and whether they're going to college, trade school, all of those things, whether or not a lot of high schools offer them buyouts of their Chromebooks or their iPads, whether or not their school offers that. There's a lot of different variables that can go into that to make that decision. So that would be my first response, was asking questions. Right.
And we'll cover some of those questions as we go along. Tom, do you have a general inclination that one is better than the other?
I think for college students, I mean, I think, Dom, you'll mention that students are mobile. They move around. They move between apartments and dorms. They just move around every day in terms of walking to different classes. So they may still have some online classes, but most students probably still have to attend at least one or more classes in person. And that seems to be the default answer. I think that we'll look past that question that always comes up of, well, what's the best way to take notes? Is it with an iPad or with where you can write down, or a pen and paper, or take notes on a laptop? And I think we'll skip that argument for the night, but I think that pretty much the laptop is the way to go, at least from my perspective. I mean, there are certain niche cases. As I said, I started with a desktop, but we're talking, that was back in 1992.
Yeah, laptops changed. Battery power was minimal. They were heavy. There was as heavy as the desktops, and twice as expensive. There is one argument to be made, which is if you are in certain majors, it may be worthwhile. If you need the heavy lifting of a desktop, it may be worthwhile to go with a 2-computer strategy, a beefy desktop and a lightweight, inexpensive laptop. That might be something that you could think about. And we'll get into that when we talk about the different majors. But there might be a case to be made for some students that getting, especially if you already own, like if you're a gamer and you have a great desktop computer, take it to college with you and maybe pick up a laptop to take the classes. I mean, that might be a better solution in that case, or a Chromebook. And especially like Father, you were saying, like some high schools let you buy out your Chromebook or your iPad that you had through those years. You could get buy one of those out for cheap and pair it up with a decent desktop computer to keep in your dorm room.
Yeah, if your kid's school is 1-to-1, and if it's 7 through 12 or 9 through 12, whatever it is, we don't want those computers back after they've been used for 5 years. No. We really don't.
No, I mean they're nearly obsolete at that point for one thing.
So but if it's treating them well enough right now, then maybe they can go a couple more years on it.
Yeah. I think that's a definite. That's an option for a lot of folks. Another one, think about is if not everyone goes away to college, goes to living, like you could be commuting from home, living home, and maybe you have a family computer that everyone uses, and a laptop that they take back and forth to school, and then there's a nice beefy desktop computer at home that they can continue to use is also option. But I think at this point, some sort of portable computer, like even an iPad with a keyboard case, could be an option. But I think some sort of portable computer is basic now. I mean, it's kind of the default. The question is, do you also get something to go with it? So then the next question that often gets asked is, well, which kind of computer do I get? Do I get a Mac? Do I get Windows? Do I get Linux or Chromebook?
Linux, yes.
So let's look at the case.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, there's definite cases for each one. So let's look at the cases for them. I'll start with the one that I know the best, which is the Mac. So as we record, Apple has recently announced price increases across the board for their computers. Some things are has gotten way more expensive than others, but in general, it's about $100 for at the base level. You're going to pay about $100 more for the computers that most college students will be looking at. So you got your MacBook Air, the M4, M5 is great, excellent computer. 90% of people would do well with a MacBook Air, a current generation MacBook Air. You get incredible battery life, incredible speed, like power in the CPU. You could save $100 by going to the certified refurb store. That's about the how much you're saving. There's also an education store. That's another thing to look for, is look for the education discounts wherever you go. And also there's often bundles and sales. Like if you buy a new Mac, you get like AirPods or that sort of thing. So, be sure to look for those sorts of things.
And there's always a choice with, the M1's kind of phasing out a little bit, but from the M2 upward, if you're buying used or refurbished from a reputable place, there's that choice too to save a little bit of money.
The Silicon Macs have long life. I'm still using an M2 Mac Studio as my daily machine to do all the editing, video and audio editing we do for the network. I mean, it has plenty of horsepower, and it will for years to come. So you don't necessarily need to get the latest and greatest, depending on what you're going to use it for.
Yeah.
But the Air, I would even say for some people, the MacBook Neo, and I know, Tom, you have a different opinion on it than I do, but I would say for some people, the MacBook Neo would be enough. If you have basic needs, if you are mostly going to be working in Word and in browsers and in email and that sort of stuff, a lot of the humanities sort of classes, if you're an English major, sociology major, that sort of thing, you might get away with a MacBook Neo. But
I would even say with the because you bring in a whole nother layer of making sure that they have subscription to Word. Usually if they're at a 4-year university or college, that's going to come as a perk. To the Office, Office Suite. Yeah. I'm not saying that you get it for free, because you don't, but it's part of your tuition.
Right.
So Dom, I didn't totally diss the Neo. I added that caveat in my notes that, yes, if you're in humanities, liberal arts programs, and you don't have heavy CPU needs, that 8 gigs of RAM that it's limited to might be a good option, especially if you look at the 512 gig SSD as an option. Now, it did go up $100, but of course, as you said, there's I don't think they have. I don't know yet if they've released certified refurbished yet Neos, but they definitely have the education discount.
Yeah, they do.
That A18 chip, though, is what's in their highest phones right now, right?
Yeah, which I'll keep saying, it makes me amazed at what these phones, the power that are in the phones, never mind in the computers. Like, the fact that a phone chip we've got a couple of Neos now in my house. Like, I got one for my son, and my daughter just got one from her grandparents for her graduation. And they do, like, my son plays video games. Like, he plays No Man's Sky on it, and it works great. It's like, it's got plenty of horsepower. So, it's not going to run Class A games or anything like that, but it can do the job for a lot of things.
So maybe if they are going to college, it's good to buy them a computer that's a Neo.
Yeah, so they're not playing video games all the time. Ask me how much I played Marathon when I was in college.
Yeah. I was looking at, for those in true 4 to 8 year programs, is like, how is that Neo going to perform in 4 years? And if somebody intends to go to grad school or degrees that take much longer, like med school, vet school, that kind of stuff, a Neo stretching out to 6 or 8 years is kind of challenging.
Yeah. that's fair. That's fair. If you beyond 4 years, you probably with a Neo, you'd probably be wanting to upgrade it to something else. So if you got like say a MacBook Pro, an M4, M5, MacBook Pro, that's going to have some long legs. That will last you through a grad program. Almost definitely.
Yes, it would.
But it would be way overkill for a freshman, sophomore year for most people, unless you're like in a heavy engineering or, video production, something along those lines, those sorts of things that would, otherwise it's overkill for those first few years.
Heavy odds is if you have, if you're one of those people or you have children that are going to those majors, they're going to have very strong opinions about what they want.
Right. If your kid's going into one of those majors, they know what they want.
Well, most engineering schools are going to tell you what their expectation is, and a lot of them will be flat out, hey, you either getting a particular level of Intel AMD processor on a Windows machine, or you're looking at, hey, you need to be on at least an M4, M5 for a Mac. Right. And they should be quite clear about that.
And some places, there's some engineering software that just won't run on a Mac. So you're going to be stuck, with the Windows machine. Like this is what you have to get, in order to do it. And so that's you're going to know, like, you probably know now already what the limitation is once they've told you.
I'm not sure because it's been 20 years since I've been taking classes in an engineering school, but often they're going to still, at least when I was in there, they still had labs that had computers with those software if you don't have something powerful enough for one project, right? So if it's just one or two projects that year, your kid could still use.
I'd have to check with Leo, who's on with us, with Joanne, because he just graduated from with a computer science degree, so he'd have a better idea of like at least what at his university they offered. But I wonder, do they still have labs?
Yeah, when you go on a tour, it might be worth looking at those things and seeing what's available for resources, even for checkout. Sometimes they might have stronger computers for checkout, so that if there is one or two big projects the entire year that they need that for their first 2 years, right? Usually your first 2 years are a little lighter in the comp sci. You could probably hold off on a big purchase of an M4 or something.
Right. You may want to, wait to get a beefier, stronger computer, because you're not going to tax it in those first couple of years, because you're taking all your intro classes.
And that might fit in with the whole issues right now, as people call it, Ramageddon, with the price of RAM and other stuff. Is that if you can buy something that fits for that first 2 years and then reevaluate you may be coming in undecided. I mean, a lot of students come in undecided.
Right.
And maybe this is one of those things is after year 2, you're almost forced to declare a major. And at that point, it's like, okay, maybe component prices will have fallen and the prices of computers will have become a lot more reasonable at that time. So
your son or daughter right now is like, I'm going to be an engineer. Buy me the $3,000 laptop. And then in 2 years, I decided to major in sociology, which is a great major. Don't get me wrong, but does not require a $3,000 laptop to do the classwork. So that is, that you want to avoid ending up overspending. So let's talk about the Windows option. There are lots of Windows options out there, obviously, but you probably want to stick with some of the bigger brand names, especially since they're going away to college. They're not going to, if they have issues, they're more likely to be able to get it taken care of than if they have, brand X off of Amazon laptop, that sort of thing.
Bunch of random letters from a Chinese company.
Exactly. So one option would be that has been recommended by several different reviews as the best overall Windows laptop for most students is the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7i Aura edition. It's thin, it's light, it has all-day battery, and it's got a really strong build quality. That's the basic rundown of that one. you want, I think in general, for any of the like the Mac or Windows, you want to get at least 512 gig for storage internal. If you only get 512, you're going to want to get an external drive to put stuff on. You're just going to need that space. But you're better off. I always think you're just better off buying before the memory Armageddon that we're in, but the Ramageddon. Yeah, that's what it was. I would have said just buy, pay a little extra, get the bigger internal drive. But nowadays there's no pay a little extra. It's pay a lot extra. So you got to need that storage space. So, but that applies to all of them. The another option would be like the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon Gen 13. This is the heavy duty. This is the workhorse. This is, as the reviews say, the legendary keyboard. This is the best for computer science, data science. Some business students who need more horsepower, more reliability from it. That there's some thought. It's got a Core Ultra 7 CPU. It's a great laptop. Lots of power. And then, if you're looking for something a little in the budget realm, the Lenovo IdeaPad Slim 5i, it's in the 600 to 700. So it's around, the cost of a Neo. And, you're getting a Core i5. It's not in 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs SSD. So, it's got mediocre specs. Yeah.
I've had a lot of these IdeaPads for computers that we've had for volunteers in various parishes I've been in to do work. I'd say don't bet on this one lasting you more than 4 years.
Right.
And you're very lucky if it lasts them through their senior year. Right.
I think I know I'm going to get accused of Apple bias, but by and large, Apple stuff is going to last a lot longer, be more useful for longer than most Windows things. It's just, I think, in general. I mean, some of them will last, like Alienware and some of the other premium brands will last as well. But yeah, most of these Windows laptops we're talking about, I think the ThinkPad X1, that you'll get some life out of, but the other ones are not going to. I think 4 years is about your limit for a lot of them.
The Yoga Slim, I have a Yoga 12, which is, 2016, 2017. It does run Linux now, but it is still punching.
Nice.
And so I think you're safe with the Yogas.
Okay, good. That's good to know. They're nice looking computers. They have some good specs on them. The Yoga Slim. If you want to look at like a Dell, the XPS 13, also Core Ultra 7, nice display. It's the review on that one is it's great for majors with heavy writing. That lots of when you're business major, marketing major, English major, that sort of stuff. The Dell has a touchscreen that's $600, which it makes it kind of like an iPad, kind of like a Chromebook, range, but it's a Windows machine. So there's ones like the OmniBook from HP, which is a flip screen. It's a little more gimmicky. I don't know. I might say stay away from the gimmicky convertible ones and just either get an iPad or get a laptop, maybe get both, but just the convertible ones. I always feel iffy because I feel like it's just more things to go wrong, more things to break. Like that hinge on those convertible flip around screen laptops on something that your college kid's going to be dragging around. Yeah.
If it's a cheap one, it's not going to be good. The Yoga Slim is a convertible, and I think that one's going to be strong and good.
Right.
But once you start getting to things that are under the $1,000 mark, it's going to break.
Yeah. So if you need to go under 1,000, stick with something a little more conventional. So the Windows advantage is software. It's got the biggest software library. Everything works for it. The price range, you get a much bigger range of prices in hardware. It's just undeniable. The battery life is not as is up to the level that Apple's at right now for a lot of them. Some are, a few are, but not across the board. So, and you just get a wide range of quality out of them across all the different brands. You got to be, you got to do your homework and make sure you're getting one that has some quality behind it.
Yeah. I mean, there was one thing I did want to bring up is that Microsoft, not necessarily Microsoft, but Microsoft in partnership with some manufacturers are introducing these Copilot Plus PCs.
Oh, right.
That are not Intel and AMD based, which means that if you were to buy one, and it's usually called, sometimes they'll say it has an ARM CPU. A lot of times it means it has a Qualcomm or an NVIDIA CPU in it. So we're not talking about the GPU, which is where you would see most of the time you would see something about NVIDIA. No, this is the CPU. And so what it does is it's not running an Intel or AMD based version of Windows, which means that running native Intel AMD based software, which is what we're all used to have been running for 25, 30 years, doesn't run the same on them. And so if you have older Windows software that you're trying to run, stuff that goes beyond Microsoft Office, I would probably discourage most people from pursuing a Copilot PC unless it's very explicit that it has an Intel or an AMD CPU.
Right. Because
you may be very well disappointed. The battery life may come close to an Apple Silicon PC or laptop, but you run the risk that you're going to be trying to run software that doesn't run, either is emulated or just doesn't run at all.
Right. That's a good point. That's an excellent point. Yeah. It's still kind of gimmicky at this point. I think the whole Copilot PC, they're trying to open up a whole new market for themselves. And you don't want to be on the bleeding edge for that. This sort of thing. Let the big companies buy 1,000 of them and figure out whether they're worthwhile or not. But don't buy one for your kid.
Yeah, there's specific use cases that I see for those. But as a student, you want a general purpose Windows device.
Yeah.
Based on an AMD or Intel chip, and just stick with that, and you should be good to go.
Good advice. Good advice. So there's another option out there. You could go Linux, especially if you're in computer science, cybersecurity, data science, networking. If you're going to do anything with servers, having a Linux computer is probably a good idea. And one of the benefits is, as Father, as you mentioned, you can take an older computer, put Linux on it, and it's going to run zippity fast.
Yeah, if say you're a business person and you have your own old laptop, that I'd say it shouldn't be older than 10 years old for a kid to take it off to college. Now, for you to hobby with, it can be a potato and you can run Linux on it. But for you to have them take it off to college, I think you need to have something within 10 years that you're no longer using, or your business let you buy off them or something. And that's a real good way to put a discount laptop. I think we've done an episode on this before.
Yeah.
We'll have to look that up and put it in the show notes.
Yeah. We've talked about putting Linux on old computers and that sort of thing. And it's definitely possible. I would say Linux isn't for everyone. I think if your student has never run Linux before, starting college with Linux is probably not a good time to be introduced. So, but if they're a tinkerer already, if they're kind of a geeky computer person, if they're going into CS, they probably have already, experimented with Linux before.
And also, most of your kids, if you are versed in this stuff yourself and they've been in school running Chromebooks, it shouldn't be too big of a jump for some of the easier versions of Linux.
Like Mint or Ubuntu or that sort of thing.
Yeah. I don't know if I've mentioned before on the podcast, but I know I've mentioned on Discord a few times, is that I did a weekend project back in April to add dual boot Linux, Ubuntu Cinnamon to a Windows desktop that is 8-9 years old. And part of that is because it can't be upgraded. past Windows 10. And I mean, what I will say, I think what I said then is that it having an LLM like Gemini walk me through it prevented me from making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
So if someone's interested in that has been my recommendation. Now my daughter's found a Steam game and she's like booting into my Windows desktop all the time. So Linux doesn't get the love that it was getting, but I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't use a lot of various apps that are very Linux specific, but yeah, it's a great weekend project to figure out.
Yeah, I got gosh, I mean, I've got several Raspberry Pis running, which runs a version of Linux. That we talked a few weeks ago about the status boards. I've got 2 of them now in my house, by the way.
Be careful.
It's addictive.
I awakened a monster.
Half of the widgets that run on a little rat hole here. Half of the widgets running on my status board in the family space, are custom made using Claude. Like I've got a Saint of the Day, Readings of the Day one with liturgical stuff, and then the weekly menu, and then my daughter keeps a Apple Note full of family quotes. You know how every family has like funny things people have said. Well, she's been recording them like forever. She's got dozens of them, hundreds of them. And so she shared the note with me, and I have Claude create a page that rotates them every few minutes on the board. And every time you walk by, there's something new to make you laugh. So that's been great.
Good.
But it was a fun, little, hey, it's a Linux machine, basically. So, there's all kinds of things you can do with Linux stuff, and Linux is everywhere. So if your kiddo is already experimenting with it, it might be something to think about. And there are Linux machines you can buy, like a brand new machine. Like you can get like the Dell XPS 13 Developer Edition with Ubuntu pre-installed, like framework laptop. There's stuff out there like that, but you don't need to do that. You don't need to buy a new computer for it.
I would say that's probably the bad idea, because you're paying a little bit of premium for those ones.
Exactly.
And also, against my better judgment of discouraging Linux, I think for even a kid who's a tinkerer, there might be a problem of pulling them away from their attention span to
good point
studies. If you get them a new Linux laptop going into college,
they'll spend all their time tinkering. They'll found Facebook or something in their spare time. Oh, God forbid. So let's go on to the next question. And there is Chromebooks will come in a bit, but I do want to come back to that in a second, because I want to go to this next question, which is what's your major going to be? And as we've already mentioned, the majors change. I forget what the stat is, but like something like a third of all students or half of all students graduate with a different major than they started with or something. So majors change, but you got to keep this in mind as you go in anyway. So it's not what's the best computer. It's what's the minimum viable machine for my major, and where does the ceiling matter? Where does the best that this machine I'm looking at can do? Where does that matter? So, for example, if you're looking at humanities, social sciences, business, pre-law, you're going to be doing a lot of word processing, research, email, web browsing, PDFs, presentations, video calls. So what are you looking for? You're looking for 8 to 16 gigs of RAM. 8 is on the low side, but given the prices these days, we have to start being realistic, and maybe 8 is all we can get. But 8 to 16 gigs of RAM, integrated graphics are sufficient. You don't need a special graphics card. 256 to 512. I really feel like 512 is a minimum these days, but you got to do what you got to do what your budget says. If you even at that level, you kind of need a external drive.
I'd say if you go low on the RAM, if you're doing a Windows PC, if you're doing a Mac, you can't do this. But if you go low on the RAM, make sure that it's upgradable for that 8 gigabytes of RAM. Then when you need more RAM, that upgrade's only going to cost hopefully the prices come down, only $200 or something max, right? Instead of it being a full no purchase of a computer.
Right.
Yeah, and if possible, find the device that has 2 memory slots and only one is full. So then you're not having to, in essence, throw away or resell the original RAM. That's
a good bit of advice. So your picks in this one are the MacBook Air, the Lenovo Yoga Slim, the Dell XPS 13, IdeaPad Slim, your lower end but not low end laptops. Don't overbuy here. Don't go out and spend $3,000 on a computer. $8,000 MacBook Air, $700 Lenovo. Lord knows what they'll be when you go to buy them, but for now, that's about the range. That's all a humanities or business student really needs at this level.
You could probably get away with the Neo too if you really needed to.
Yes, you really could. You really could.
But plan to try to do the upgrade to 512 gig on the SSD though.
Yeah. All the Macs come, I think, minimum 512 now, but yeah, for Windows, try to get to the 512. If you're a science major, biology, chemistry, physics, pre-med, you're gonna be doing data analysis, using Excel, R, Python, lab reports, statistical modeling, some searching scientific literature databases. You're probably looking. You got to say 16 gigs is a minimum here. You're gonna have a little more requirements here. 512 gig drive is minimum because you're gonna have lots of data, lots of databases, lots of big PDFs and all that sort of stuff. So you're gonna need to have a little more horsepower. Again, with a MacBook Air M5 will do it. All that it fits that range. The ThinkPad X1 Carbon, the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7i, those are all good choices here. You need to check with your department, your school that they're going to. Do they have specific programs that they require, specific software? So you need to make sure that it'll run whatever you get. And then, the one note for if you're going pre-med, the MCAT prep software is Mac and Windows only. So don't get a Linux, don't use your Linux machine for that. But otherwise, you don't need anything unusual. If you're going into computer science, data science, cybersecurity, you'll be running virtual machines, Docker, containerized environments, compiling code, multitasking across IDEs and browsers and terminal and Zoom and all that sort of stuff. 16 gigs is a minimum. 32 gigs is better. RAM, you'll need at least an 8-core CPU, and you want to try to get to a terabyte of SSD. If not, 512 is again bare minimum. For a Mac, you're looking at a MacBook Pro, and any of the Linux native machines. If you're going to run Linux in this, you're going to need something with some horsepower on it. So Macs can work well in a CS environment because at the terminal they're basically Unix machines, so they can do all the Unixy stuff. There is a note I came across. If you are going into a cybersecurity major, some programs require Linux. Like you have to be in Linux. So that's kind of an interesting.
That's because Linux runs the internet.
It does, right? So you need to know it. If you're going into engineering, mechanical, civil, electrical, chemical, you're running some heavy duty CAD software, simulation and analysis stuff. I mean, you need, again, 16 gigs minimum, 32 gigs is better. You'll need a dedicated GPU. You'll need, strong CPU. You're shelling out some money for a high end computer at this point. And it's probably a Windows computer. It just, that's the long and short of it. That it's probably going to have to be a Windows computer to run the software that they require. So, but you'll know that they'll tell you what you need to get. That came up as you mentioned earlier, Father. Some schools do have a lab for computer aided design that lets you if you don't have the heavy duty computer yourself, then you can use their lab. if you're going into art or graphic design or animation or film or video, you're going to be running the Adobe Creative Suite or DaVinci Resolve or 3D animation software, that sort of thing. So displays are going to be important at this point. So, color accuracy. This is an area where you might be looking at maybe a desktop machine is the better choice for these majors. You would definitely want to get the more RAM, the better, and a dedicated GPU for video editing. Definitely. You're going to need at least a terabyte. If you do video editing, you're going to need way more than a terabyte. A MacBook Pro, M5 Pro is good. A Mac Studio might be something to think about. That's going to be a lot more money though. I was going to say even a Mac Mini, but I don't think the Mac Mini quite has the horsepower for like film and video and that sort of stuff, animation. But yeah, you're looking at your higher end stuff. And again, if you're a film student, filming in 4K just eats up hard drive. Just be prepared for that. So.
Well, and I think the tendency on this, and has been for the last 30 years, is Macs. Even back when Macs were kind of out of favor.
Yeah.
I still remember people who wanted to do music, art, animation, graphic design. It was Mac. I mean,
yeah.
With my predecessor company before it was acquired, who were the people in the late 90s? The only ones running Mac. It was graphic design.
Yep. So, marketing department, graphic design. Yeah.
So I think the one thing to mention is if you are going to go, you mentioned external drive, I think, Dom, already, is, and when I was writing up my notes for this episode, it was make sure on the Windows, on the Macs, you don't have to worry about this. They generally support Thunderbolt 4.
Yeah.
But on the PCs, if you think you're going to need an external drive, make sure you have at least one Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4 port.
Yeah.
Right. Thunderbolt 5 is overkill and it's a little bit not quite yet mature I wouldn't say it's not mature. It's just you're probably going to pay a premium for it, and you're probably not going to find many drives that support it. But
there's not as much benefit at this point the cost benefit isn't there.
So be careful because the port looks exactly the same. It's all USB-C. Mm-hmm. But if you're getting a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 port, you're looking at cutting your speed by a quarter compared to Thunderbolt 4.
Right.
So those reads and writes are going to take a lot longer, especially if you're dealing with large video files and things like that.
Even on the Mac, sometimes the different, like they'll come with like 2 ports or 4 ports, but different ports are different protocols. One will be Thunderbolt and one will be, just the USB-C Gen 2, and they won't have labeled it. You're supposed to remember which one is which. It's like, God, put a label on the thing. Why is my drive so slow? And that's why. Yeah.
Well, when I was doing some research on this, it was saying, hey, look for a lightning bolt to know that it's Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
So, and you're obviously wanting Thunderbolt 4, not 3.
Yeah.
So
PC manufacturers are a little better at they don't mind so much putting a label on their stuff. Apple, just put a label on it, please.
Yeah.
So I said we'd talk a little bit about Chromebooks. I want to mention, they're often thought of as, those are those high school computers. They're underpowered. They're toy computers, but they can be the right choice for the right person. They're cheap. They're they can be cheap. They can be expensive actually. It can be as much as a Windows laptop. But they run Chrome OS, which is a OS built around the Chrome browser. I mean, they basically run apps inside the browser. They can run Android apps, Linux apps. You need an environment called Christine in order to run Linux apps.
You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah. If you're going to run Linux apps, you probably know what you're doing anyway. But in any case, but you're not running Windows software or Mac software. They're fast. They start up fast. They have long battery life, low maintenance. If you want to live in Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Gmail, power to you. That's the it'll work great for you. But if you need Office, they will say, oh, you could use the web-based Office. No, you don't want to use the web-based Office.
You could.
You could slam your hand in the door several times, but you don't want to. But so if you're a student whose entire workflow lives in a browser, like in Google Workspace or something like that, that's a possibility. So some humanities, education, business students, I was thinking, like, if you were doing a semester abroad in certain places, it might be worthwhile to take an inexpensive Chromebook with you instead of a very expensive, Mac or Windows machine.
If your college or university runs on the Google Apps suite for their email and stuff, then you're going to have pretty much usually like up to a terabyte worth of storage. It's right. You get through the universities with the Google Apps package, you have the Taj Mahal of the Google Apps package. And so your bang for your buck is in what your university's paid for you. But remember then, when you leave there, you need to migrate your data out. And so this is the disadvantage of using the Chromebook. Right. Is a lot of it's going to be tied into your university account. And you're going to have to be smart enough to migrate all your data out of that account that you probably will lose. Yeah. That's a great point. That's an excellent thing to remember about being tied into the university's resources. Yeah, and in contrast, some universities, like the one my daughter went to, they automatically had Microsoft 365. Mm-hmm. So you can run in the same thing with extracting your data, but also, I mean, if they are supplying you 365, you can probably expect that the teachers and the departments are going to expect things in Word, not in Docs or Excel, not in Sheets. Right. Everything's a walled garden these days. Everyone wants to get you into their walled garden. It's not just Apple. That says the Apple fan. So, and as we mentioned earlier, if you have a great, desktop machine already, or you want a great desktop machine, a Chromebook can be a nice, machine, laptop that you take notes at class, and that's it. And you do all your real work on the desktop back at your dorm or home or apartment or whatever it is you're doing. So that's an option, something to think about. So as I mentioned earlier, look at refurbs, especially manufacturer refurbs. Those are always better than third-party refurbs. Apple gives you, when you buy a refurb from Apple, it's basically like buying a new computer. Like it's brand new, gets the brand new warranty. And I think others are like that, like Dell and Lenovo. That's basically buying new with a warranty as if it was new. But you're paying $150, $200 off sometimes. So don't do eBay quote refurbished. Oh, no. They put some snake oil on it and shined it up is all they did. Right. Or it's a brick in a box at worst. and you lose all your money. Student discounts. Lots of these places have student discounts, and they will be big back to school sales this summer. Probably not as big as they used to be these days, but it's a matter of bad timing. Your kid turned 18 at the wrong time. Sorry. During the Rampapocalypse. I'm going to just keep saying that because that's a good portmanteau. Buy what you need now, basically, for RAM and storage. For a lot of stuff, you can't add more. If you can add more, that's great. We talked about that already. But, buy what you're going to need in 4 years, not just what is good for the freshman year. A good external monitor is actually not a bad idea. And you don't need to break the bank on it unless you're a film major or an art major or whatever. But if you're just a regular, CS or humanities, a decent couple $100 monitor can make a big difference. I think Tom gave a pick of the week the other week. Is that right? For a monitor? Yeah. Yeah, the $75 or $80 Philips monitor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got a pretty decent monitor for my status board at Costco for, it was under $200. It was an LG. It was decent, looks good, it's not huge. It does the job. And that's what you're looking at. An inexpensive laptop, keyboard, an inexpensive keyboard, USB USB mouse, keyboard. Bluetooth. That's what I'm trying to say. Bluetooth, keyboard and mouse, USB-C hub,
to plug in, like a hard drive or that sort of thing. Those are worthwhile. Think about backup. Either have them store their files in the cloud or even better, set up a backup software for their computer before they leave your home and go off to school, and then tell them to just set up a system. And we may have to do an episode where we talk about this, but set up a system where all they need to do is plug in the drive every once in a while, and it will back up everything for them while they sleep. Have a dead simple, easy backup is the key, because maybe even like Backblaze or something like that's backing up over the internet. But backup is especially important for your college kid, because they're not going to be paying attention and they are going to lose data. It's just a fact. And then let's see, AppleCare or extended warranties in college, definitely worth it. They're going to drop it. They're going to spill something on it. It's just going to happen. And yeah. And like I said, the big question is ask the department, what should they get? And they're probably already going to tell you before you even ask, because these days that's probably one of the number one questions they get. Anything else we might have missed that we should cover? Tom, did you have any other advice for folks?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered most of what I had written down in my notes. Yeah, I don't think there was much else.
Awesome.
I think there was one more thing now that I think about it. Yeah, your episode last week with
Leo. Yeah.
With Leo, you talked about travel and some of the accessories and so forth. It might be worth a listen if somebody didn't listen last week on some of those travel accessories, like the portable monitors or the stands or the keyboards or the mice that fit in there. So that might be something to pay attention to from last week. I enjoyed that part.
Right.
Definitely enjoyed the episode last week, listening to your guys' discussion on that. And that might be in a small dorm room. Sometimes the travel accessories are the right size for what you need, even if you're not moving it constantly.
College students are working remotely all the time. I mean, we were talking about remote work, like you're working in the coffee shop, working in a hotel room. College students are essentially remote working. And so all of the advice we had last week would apply. That's a good point. That's good. Thanks for mentioning that. All right. So before we move on to our picks of the week, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons and make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including John M., Michelle S., Sam M., Molly N., and James K. Their generous donations at GiveStarQuest.com make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting GiveStarQuest.com. So, Father, why don't you go first? What is your pick this week?
So my pick this week, it goes back to working with smaller things with like Raspberry Pis, Arduinos. We've kind of the tinkering things, and it's a simple concept in a website called Duino Coin, and it has to do with mining cryptocurrency. But it's the exact opposite of what you would normally think of cryptocurrency. Normally with cryptocurrency, the more powerful hardware you have, the more energy you spend, the higher payout you get. This project does the exact opposite. The way their algorithm is written for mining, the weaker the hardware, hence the code. Arduinos are the weakest. They're really tiny processors. They get the highest reward when mining, and the lowest difficulty assigned to them. So it's a fun little project if you yourself are interested in kind of tinkering with mining, but you don't want to bring a massive power bill to your house. These are running on little chips that you're literally spending pennies a month to run them.
That's fun. I like the idea of becoming a crypto bro on a budget. So the idea is the more efficient, the more energy efficient you get, the better you're doing. And so it's designed to
exactly. Now,
optimizing for efficiency is hard, actually.
Now, your payout on the coin, if you went through all the trouble to cash out your coin, you're probably making a couple dollars a year.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to get rich on this.
It is not really meant for you to get money that's going to grow or anything like that. It's more meant you can learn about mining, about the blockchain, about all these different things by doing this. That's
a great idea. I like it. It's a fun project to introduce your kid to the addictive world of crypto mining and cryptocurrency. No, just kidding.
It's a gateway coin.
It's a gateway. Soon they'll be trading Doge coins on the corner. All right, thanks, Father. No, that's a good pick. Tom, what's your pick this week?
My pick this week was once in a while, Best Buy will send me, hey, for the next week, you have $10 reward zone money. And I'm like, hey, that's free money. What's the cheapest thing I can pick up that doesn't cost me very much? And of course, it's a lot of power cords, USB-C cables, and all that kind of stuff. Things that are like $4.99. So you almost have to buy 3 in order to take advantage of the $10 reward zone. And I just kept clicking. And I'm like, and finally what came up, I think at $14.99. And so I paid about $4.99 plus tax, was the Maxell Sync Up Type-C earbuds. And these are, as you can guess, very inexpensive Type-C earbuds. So no adapters needed to plug into an Android phone, iPhone, and anything that has a device. And yeah, I mean, you're not going to get great bass. You're not going to, for basic podcast listening, it's great. And if your concern is, like one of my sisters, that Bluetooth earbuds are going to give you cancer, they're a great set of earbuds that I've been playing around with and enjoy using. They're not the kind of headphones that I have on for the podcast, obviously, right, or for listening to digital music, as we did that episode last year or earlier this year. I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, they're just basic earbuds. They have a little button to like take calls and things like that. So they do have a mic built in as well.
Yeah.
So that's my pick of the week. It was very inexpensive, but like I said, it's like, hey, how can I use this $10 and not spend a lot of my own extra money?
And you're never going to need to recharge them. Yes, I love that on the Best Buy page. It shows you the USB-C plug, and it says reversible, plugs in either way. Yeah, that would be the USB-C plug. Yeah. But that's a simple pair of wired. You don't have to pair them. You don't have to. It's just plug them in and use them. There's something to be said for that. That's good. All right. So my pick is a little tiny piece of software that does one little thing and does it well. And it's called Desktop Icon Manager for Mac. It's a Mac software. And what it does is you start it up and you tell it, and you've rearranged all of your icons on your desktop. If you got to be a little OCD. That's part of this. If you're a Mac user, you probably are a little OCD already. So you arrange it. If you have all your desktop icons arranged just so, then you start this up and you click the button, memorize icon positions. And then anytime, I don't know why, but every time I reboot my machine and I reload all my network drives, they're like everywhere. Like, come on, like put them back where they were. So I launch Desktop Icon Manager, hit restore icon positions, and they all go back to where they were. It's just very simple. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. It's a very simple little program. You can even have it automatically restore the positions when it launches. So it launches, and you don't even have to press the button. So actually, what I do is every night or every morning, it automatically launches and rearranges everything back where it's supposed to be for when I start my day, and everything is nice and neat. You gotta have a neat desk to start your day. I don't store things on my desktop. I want everything to be neat and in its place. And that's more about me than I think anyone wanted. So that's my pick. So that is it for our show this time. We would love to get your feedback and find out what you bought for your college students. And maybe even what was the computer you had in college? Father, I didn't ask you. What did you have in college?
I had a IBM ThinkPad. I think it was like It was a T something model. Windows 2000 was on it. Eventually Ubuntu made its way on it, because that was in the age that your computer science students went around campus passing out CDs of this new great Linux distribution.
So I went to college with an Apple IIgs, and by the time I was done, I had a MacBook, a PowerBook 520C, which that thing was a brick, and it was awesome. I loved it. It was a great computer, and it was color. So, back in the Stone Age.
In seminary, I did switch over to the Mac world, and I had a iBook G3.
Oh, nice. Well, that was the white one, right? Yeah.
That was the white one with the CD drive that got maybe 2 hours of battery life if you were lucky.
I think I've got one in a closet around here somewhere that was mine. Oh, great. Anyway, so what did you take to college when you were in college, and what are you giving your kid to take to college this year? Let us know by sending us an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord, where we have all kinds of great geeky discussions in our channel over there. You can find links from our discussion and picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC351. And of course, you can find previous episodes at sqpn.com/technology. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or listen on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. And finally, it really helps us out if you write a review in Apple Podcasts or share the podcast with someone that you think will get some. You know anybody who's sending a kid to college this fall? Give them this episode. Help them out. Help them, helps us. So until next time, Tom Grelinger, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thank you, Tom.
And Father Joseph's son, thank you as well.
My pleasure.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. There's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy, The Catholics of Oz. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Oz.